Hello, ladies and gents, welcome back to the Tartan Stand, and this week is special because Scottish Premiership is back. Yes, that is right. The football's back this weekend, and I cannot wait for it, just like these lads here. Until we're 4 weeks into the season, we're hoping the season ends because our team's absolutely pish. But, you know, this is football. We will be diving straight into it. As you can see, we've got Quanny Sheep Fiddlers podcast. You know, I'll just shout him up there. He's obviously the Aberdeen fan, if you can tell with the red painting. Jay, who'll be representing Dundee United. Alan, Dundee. Chris, Celtic, and also Tam. As you can see, we're in the Rangers talk. We'll be talking about his boring team, Rangers. His quote, not mine. So, yes, we'll dive right into it. Quanny, obviously, Aberdeen. We had to kind of speak about them 2 weeks ago with Harvey. You know, Aberdeen, there was a lot of Aberdeen fans were a bit discontent with Stephen Robson getting appointed, etc. You know, from the Premier Sports Group Cup games, you know, the past four. Do you think he's kind of won years over, albeit it was a group that Aberdeen should have been topping?
Yeah, I think it is a group we should have been topping, no doubt about that. But, you know, it's a lot of pre-season. You know, that a lot of the games have been treated just like pre-season, but you can see things are different to what they were last season, the way we're playing football. We're not hanging around at the back as much as we were. He's very much imposed this, get the ball forward in 3 passes, and that does seem to be working. So we are playing a little bit more exciting, try to score more goals, play on the front foot. So, yeah, I think he will win people over. I was one of the people to start off with who thought, why are we appointing him? But when I did a bit of research, to be honest, the guy deserves the chance. He deserves a chance at a bigger club. And the most important thing is we get behind him.
Obviously, like you say, he does deserve this chance at a bigger club, and also Aberdeen is a massive club in Scotland. Are you a wee bit worried a bit? Like it's a wee bit more basic football? Is that something that Aberdeen definitely needs right now?
I think the most important game of football is the one that you win. You win games and then you can look at identity. You can play all the pretty football you want in the world. If you're pissing about at the back and then getting beat 1-0, what's the point? You know, the way to win a football match is the one that gets you 3 points, and that's all that matters, really.
Obviously, you did top your group and you did actually draw Dundee. We will get onto you, Alan, in a second. How do you rate your chances against Dundee? Obviously, they did beat you last season, I think, up at Pittodrie. Do you feel this could be a challenge?
Yeah, it kind of depends what Dundee turn up, to be honest. If it's the Dundee that beat us, then they'll give us a good game. But if it's the Dundee from the start of last season, then I wouldn't be too worried. To be honest, I just wanted a home draw. As long as we get someone at home, you've got to fancy yourself.
Yeah. Alan, so we will put you onto you then. Obviously, you came second in your group. Obviously, Ross County did top it. He's never really lost to Ross County. Was a draw, but he lost in penalties. From like your group games as well, you've seen a wee bit of improvement. You've actually qualified, you know, this season. Do you feel as things are getting better under Stephen Pressley?
Yeah, well, I think towards the end of last season, well, certainly from Christmas, you know, the way that Presley wants to play was really starting to come across, and the team were really buying into it. And you'll see that, you remember towards the end of the season, we never knew when we were beat. And that, you know, there's been a few changes. Obviously, we've lost quite a few decent players, but the attitude within the squad still seems to be the same. There seem to be really sort of tight, and the new guys coming in Presley seems to make sure that they fit into that sort of mould. So yeah, definitely been a decent start. Still a little bit disjointed. We still need probably 4 or 5. I think going towards the end of the window. But yeah, quietly confident so far.
Well, obviously, to say you're confident there, does the disjointment not kind of like worry you a wee bit? You know, obviously you've lost every single player, basically the ones that were standouts. You have kept Ethan Hartman, which is obviously a quality player, honestly. Some guy can also hit a ball as well. Do you think, you know, these group of new players, obviously it's just like 3-4 weeks into like basic pre-season, do you think they can reach those carbon levels to keep Dundee in the top flight?
I absolutely think they can. Yeah, from what I've seen. Obviously, losing Luke Graham, we all knew that was coming, and we wanted the payday, which gladly we've got. I think it was a bit of a out of the blue moment when Billy Cometto went, because I think everybody thought that the centre half pair, that Astley Cometto, was what we're going to be starting with. But this guy Owen Bevan that he's brought in from Bournemouth, I think it is, he's sort of slotted in quite nicely so far, showing that he's a decent addition. Always, it's going to be massively difficult to replace a talent like Luke Graham. But yeah, from what we've played 11 pre-season games now. We've gone from one extreme to the other from last season. The guys are really starting to gel already. The disjointedness really is just in the tactical stuff, and I think Presley will iron that out of them pretty quickly.
Do you think it's a wee bit of a free hit, because obviously your first game is at Celtic Park on the Monday, albeit you did give them a tight run in the Scottish Cup? Do you think it's one where Stephen Press and the players can take that free hit and not derail their confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually over the moon that that's the first game. Just go down there, get it out of the way. I was thinking about it the other day. If we hit Celtic now, with the sort of pre-season that they've had and the recruitment that they've had so far, it might be the best possible time to get them. I wouldn't really fancy getting them 6 weeks down the line once they've actually got things sorted out. So yeah, it's all. Any visit to Parkhead or Ibrox is always just a free hit. I don't think we can take much out of the result. And if we do come away with anything, then it's a fantastic boost to the start of the season.
Tammy, we'll obviously go over you about pre-season. It hasn't really been the best with the games that are actually on telly and not behind doors. Obviously, led right to West Ham just there recently. Betsy ended by 2-1, who did look decent. Is there a wee bit of a worry to you that you've brought in players that have obviously brought in leadership, which is something Rangers need, but the final third, especially the wingers, it still remains to be seen?
We need wingers. It's so blatantly clear. And if the club can't see that, I don't know what they're doing. You can look at the two games that we've played, obviously, St. Etienne and West Ham. We weren't doing much, if I'm honest. There wasn't a lot of creativity. We've got one of the best goal scorers in the league, in Lon Shankland, and not really serving him up what he should be getting. You can tell that we're struggling. The team doesn't know how to play yet. That's what it's going to be difficult going away on Friday night, which is weird to say as well. First game of the season on Friday night, don't like it. But I'm struggling to see where the goals are going to come from if we don't recruit. I know we've already brought in quite a few players, but there's just not enough creativity. I think one good thing that we have brought in is Cammy Devlin. And I will use a strong word here. He is a nasty wee bastard. A nasty wee cunt. I was sitting there in the stands, the West Ham, and I was just going through people for fun. That's the kind of player we need. It's the kind of player that we've been missing for so long. But you can have one of the players, but if they're not actually doing anything with the ball, then that becomes an issue. We played two different kind of systems against West Ham. Started off with a 4-3-3, went to a 3-5-2, I think it was, with Oliver Ant-Man, of all people, as a sort of right wing back. McInnes is kind of just trying to work out what he wants, but it seems like it's coming too late. Our main focus is the league this season, and it's coming quite quickly. And we don't know how we're playing. We've not got a captain pick. We've not got a sort of solid starting 11. I said on here a wee while ago, we're going to steamroll this league. I might be taking my words back.
Well, that definitely did get clipped, and it might be waiting at the end of the season. But I want to talk to you about that because you see the formations that obviously Derek McInnes did play. You know, he did play a 3-5-2 at heart, but predominantly was a 4-4-2. He started off with a 4-3-3, and I never watched the West Ham game, but I've seen a lot of comments from Rangers fans saying, you know, Tyler Asgard looked more than decent. Cammy Devlin, there was a wee bit more of a balance in that midfield. Do you feel it's a wee bit of a worry that the game's coming up on Friday night and Derek McInnes doesn't really know his best formation or his best team?
Of course it's a worry. Of course it is. We should be prepared. We are one of the top teams in this league. And we've played 4 pre-season games, I think it is. 2 behind closed doors that nobody even knows of, really. And 2 that we've only scored 2 goals. All right, we've not conceded. Well, we've conceded once, but we've only scored 2. The team's changing all the time. There's not a kind of coherent 11 there. If we go into Friday night like that, we're going to struggle because this isn't the pre-season anymore. We can't, it's half time. Here, let's shove a brand new 11 on and hope for the best here.
Like the board has obviously brought in a lot of money, but it feels like they haven't really learned from the previous board. You know, don't get me wrong, I think the Hull City goalkeeper looks a wee bit good. I don't want to say to revert back to Championship, but there's a lot of problems with Daniels Connor taking people slating him. There's apparently you're interested in a Coventry City winger on loan again, that right winger position. I can't even remember the last time Rangers had a permanent right wing who was actually good. Does it feel like the board has money this time, but they're just doing the same issues over and over and over again?
It's kind of the story with us. It's the complete story with us. We'll sign these duds on loan to buy deals that will be like, oh, we'll try them out, we'll see what happens. We need permanent players. We need them to be scouted well. We need them to come in and be a part of the setup. I don't care if it costs us a little bit more. And I don't think they would either. But why are we, as one of the most prevalent clubs in Europe and Scotland, not having permanent players? A loan here and there is all right, but you can't be building an 11 on loans because that's changing every year. It's the same with managers. We're changing managers like that. It's not going to help. You need to give somebody a run. You need to give players a run. And loans, changing managers all the time. We're going to get run into the ground again.
I will get back to your manager point of view, but I want to talk to you, Chris. Obviously, Tam did say the best striker in the league, but obviously Celtic have signed, I think, is a phenomenal signing today in Casper Hull or Hoy, whatever you want to say. There has been a wee bit more of a Bodo Glimt curse. Do you believe in that, or do you think he will be successful at Celtic?
I think he'll be quite successful. I've seen him, obviously, he managed to bag a couple against Man City in the Champions League last year. And obviously, Bodo Glimt have done very well. I think they've defied expectations. I was actually at the Bodo Glimt game when they played against us, and they made us look very, 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 very poor. They made us look very poor. It was a very bad performance. And I'll be honest with you, I was quite sceptical of that game. I thought we've got a lucky draw here. Like it's a team that nobody did by that point, really. And for me personally, they weren't a well-known team. They weren't like a massive team in Europe. And I thought, okay, all right. Everyone knows kind of who they are now. The last couple of seasons I've had in Europe have been fantastic. So I think it's a good signing. I think it's a very good bit of business, but I don't think this is quite enough at the minute. We've seen there's a lot of players. We've missed out on Iniacho. Sarachi, he was openly saying he wanted to come back to us, but nothing was done. Maeda has now gone to Ipswich. So it's one very good signing in the midst of missing what potentially could have been a lot of simple deals to get bodies in the door.
I actually think Sarachi's away to Houston Dynamo now for 700,000, which is obviously nothing to Celtic. There's been a few bit of talks. I don't know if it is true. There's been a lot of fake, transfer gurus on Twitter recently.
Yeah.
Partner of the talks of Greg Taylor. Would you welcome him back at Celtic?
I never thought Taylor was all that bad a player. I think he was a good player in the sense that he gave his all for the shirt. He always put 100% in.
Was he the best player every week? No, not by a long way. But by the same token, you look at Celtic last year, that was a shocking Celtic side last year. Like the performances, that's probably one of the worst sides I've seen easily in the last decade. It was just there was no passion, there was no creativity. We were absolutely shocking. The debacle with Wilfred Nancy. I honestly don't know what the board was. I don't know why they thought that was going to be good. And that's not just. I mean, no disrespect to MLS or anything like that, but it's such a different way of playing football, such a different culture between the MLS and European football. And it was just, it was a mess from start to finish. It's just that was a really bad side, and we've got I think we've got a lot of work still to do to improve on that going into the season this weekend.
Do you think Celtic winning the league? I was going to say the double, but obviously they should still be beating Dunfermline, in my honest opinion. Do you think winning the league was the worst thing that ever happened to Celtic?
No, I think obviously as speaking as a Celtic fan, I obviously over the moon that it happened. But I was saying, I do the radio podcast for the hospital which I work for, the hospital radio, and I was saying all season that Scottish football, in my opinion, needed a season like it got. It needed that title challenge that lasted longer than up to Christmas, and the fact that Rangers pushed us beyond Christmas, Hearts pushed us till the last day, I thought was absolutely fantastic. As a sort of neutral supporter, it was brilliant to see. It was a good competitive league, and I think it did need it. Would Hearts winning the league have been better for Scottish football? Objectively, no, I can't argue with that. I think that would have been a better thing for Scottish football to have that change. But as a Celtic fan, no, it was over the moon it happened, and it was obviously, from our point of view, a fantastic final day. But I think Hearts winning the league would have been better for the league in a sense of it being. It had dampened the thing of it's a two-team league or it's a one-team league. I think it would have been good for Scottish football to see that change, personally.
Just quickly, if I can just ask a wee question. Do you not think Hearts winning the league would have given you that kick up the arse?
Yeah, I really do. I think that would have been, that would have been a real wake-up call to the board. I mean, the last season should have been a wake-up call anyway. It should have been an absolute wake-up call anyway, that we were so bad, we were so off it. You look at the likes of like Maeda, who's been a phenomenal player for us for a couple of seasons, was so far off it. Players that have been great players was so far off it. And then all of a sudden, in the last few games, we managed to find the performance we needed. But yeah, that to me, Tom, would have been a real message to the board to say, right, the mess we're now in is again serious. This needs sorting.
Jay, I want to talk to you because obviously Dundee United is technically opening the game up opposite at Tannadice. I think the last time I spoke to you was maybe you losing to Montrose or beating Arbroath by 3-0. Again, I'm going to ask you the same question. You know, you topped your group. Obviously, the draw Celtic, which we will go into in a minute, which isn't obviously fair topping your group. But do you feel a wee bit more confident going into that first game, especially with Rangers not really knowing their best side as of yet?
I do. I feel confident, but you've got to think of like the sides of how much like better these players are than what United, like the budget wise. So it just really depends. Like I do have faith, but it's Jim Goodwin football yet again.
Do you not think the players that Dundee United have brought in is probably up there with the best they've had in a good few years? You know, you brought Jack Walton back, Satsford, Dylan Tate, etc. Don't get me wrong, you've obviously lost some good players over the years, but do you not feel like this is a season where Dundee United should be challenging for a top 6, if not like a European spot?
Yeah, I think we should. We need to get top 6, but we should be challenging for Europe at least.
So I want to go on to you about the Premier Sports Cup draws. You were very happy with it. Again, similar to Rangers, do you not feel like it's potentially the right time to play Celtic, albeit if you take, I think you play Rangers first, then you've got Hearts away, and then you're playing Celtic, you're basically playing the top 3 in the space of 3 weeks. Do you think it's like a situation where it's make or break for Dundee United in Jim Goodwin's season? If you lose all 3, it's confidence, morale, you know, down in the drain. Would that start to worry you if that was the outcome?
No, it wouldn't start to worry me because, well, you've got to look at Rangers and Celtic and Hearts last season. They've all been really good teams. Celtic weren't the best last season, but they still won the league. But yeah.
You see, obviously, there's still Celtic and Rangers, but I think, last season kind of briefly spoke upon it. You beat Celtic twice, was it at Tannadice?
Yeah, twice.
And then you obviously got something like at Tannadice as well, a 2-2 draw, which I feel you should have won. Rangers got a dodgy penalty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That was dodgy time, you know it.
Very dodgy.
The best games have been like against the top two. So if your team's improved and their team still is a wee bit dodgy, and you go back to like 3 back-to-back defeats, why would that not worry you?
I just think it wouldn't worry me because, well, what we've done last season with Celtic and Rangers, I think we do have that hope again for the cup draw.
Well, obviously, as a devastating cup draw. I will go back to you, Kwani, for Aberdeen. Obviously, you kick off at the Saturday night. You play Hearts. Going off the result against Sturm-Graz, obviously Hearts did have their moments, but is it a game where you think Stephen Robinson, I'm not going to say basic because Stephen Robinson does play good football, but do you think it's a system where Aberdeen obviously still have that home record, Aberdeen and Hearts are place home kind of gets a result? Does it make you feel confident for Saturday going up against Hearts, especially after they got slaughtered last week?
I don't think it's just the fact they got slaughtered last week. I think, you find that all the teams that aren't Rangers and Celtic, when they start the season and they've not played in the Premier Cup, they're always a little bit slower. Hearts will have only played 2 competitive games. They'll have obviously playing tonight. They've then got to come up to Aberdeen. If, say, they get beat to 0 again tonight, they've not scored, and then they concede early at Pittodrie, you're going to see how mentally tough Hearts will be then. I think if I was Aberdeen, I'd definitely be going out Hearts right from the first whistle, and basically try and score early. That's what I want to see my team do.
Obviously, the first game is against Hearts, but I feel like your first 5 is a wee bit difficult. I think it's Hearts. Is it potentially Dundee, Motherwell, Rangers, and Celtic? If I've got that correct in the top of my head. Obviously, if Hearts they got slaughtered last week, and then maybe if they do lose again, roughly in the same sense, and you lose against Hearts, does that question of is Stephen Robinson the right guy creep back into your mind and some Aberdeen fans?
It won't creep into my mind. One game's not going to, make me change my mind on the manager. Any manager needs to be given time. Hearts pushed Celtic right to the wire last season because they're a good team. Yes, they've lost the spine of that team, but there's still players there that can do damage. So yeah, definitely not. But I always look at the flip side of it. Yes, we've got tough games coming up after Hearts, but you beat Hearts and then the confidence flows. You go into those games. Dens isn't easy to go to, but we're normally okay there. It's Scottish football, to be honest. If you're not Rangers and Celtic, every game's hard.
Yeah, that's true. I want to talk about Lewis Smith because all I do really is see negativity on Twitter, but when Aberdeen announced that, I was flabbergasted by the quote, thinking it was an uninspiring signing. I think that's an actually unbelievable signing. I think he was one of the top players for Livingston, which is incredible to say after their season last season. Do you think it's something that Aberdeen's really needed in that wide quality, especially with Yogang from Dundee coming in as well?
Yeah, I think the two of them coming in is a good piece of business from the club. If a winger's scoring 7 goals for Livingston, you've got to think he's going to score more for Aberdeen. The only thing I would like to see is I want to see him more on the left than on the right. I'm not a big fan of these inverted wingers. I definitely think he should be on the left and Yogang should be on the right. But yeah, I think the two of them are very, very good signings. I was quite impressed that we managed to get him for 300 grand.
Obviously, he was linked to Kilmarnock. I thought that was a dead certainty. I want to talk to you about lastly about Stephen Robinson one final time because this is kind of like a new transition to him. He usually played his 5-3-2 or his 3-4-3 at St.Mirren. Like you said, he is trying to play wingers, new inverted. It's a brand new scope for him. Is it something you've enjoyed to see recently over the past 4 games?
Yeah, I do like it that he's gone with a 4 at the back, 3 in midfield, 3 up front. It is good that way. I do like as well that he wasn't scared to change, especially against Queen of the South. It wasn't working. and that's when he changed it. He swapped sides with the 2 wide players, and that's where the equalising goal came from. Well, obviously it was a penalty, but that's where it came from, was Lewis Smith driving to the byline rather than cutting inside. So yeah, he talks well. He's obviously there. He's changed it, which is good to see. And long may that continue. That he learns on the job, so to speak, on what we need at Aberdeen.
Alan, obviously we did talk about Yogan there. Obviously you brought in Alan Forrest. I don't think that's a direct replacement. That may be a replacement for Congreve. How big a loss is he going to be? Obviously his goal contributions weren't showing, but he was a player that you knew he could improve and further go on to a no disrespect, like a more established top 6 club in Scotland. Do you think that's one of your massive blows, albeit outside in the attacking sense rather than Luke Graham?
Yeah, so when it happened, I was actually in the pub, and it flashed up on my phone that he'd signed permanently for Aberdeen, and I actually thought somebody was taking the piss. I was quite shocked by it, and probably upset for about an hour until I started looking at that. So I think as a guy, I know a few folk at Dens. I'm sort of pals with Simon Murray and stuff. They're all gutted to see him go as a player, as a guy in the dressing room. Everybody seemed to love him, so we're certainly going to miss him from that point of view. He's on the pitch. He's still got a lot to learn. I think he did have a really good season last year. He can be really difficult to watch. He looks. It's weird. He's one of these players that looks. The faster he runs, the slower he looks. He kind of. He's a chunky guy as well. He's a powerful kind of guy. But the most frustrating thing about him was he can beat a man with his eyes closed, but he'll then want to beat him a second time and a third time and not put the cross in. And it really used to wind me up massively. You'd be screaming at the guy, well, look, you've beat him already. You've beat him. Put the cross in. And by the time he did, the centre halves are back just waiting for it. That could be coached out of him. I think Robinson will do that. I'm surprised that he stayed in this league. I thought just on his potential that he probably would have stayed in England. But the one thing that Simon Murray said to me was, it doesn't matter to Tony Yogan, it doesn't matter whether he's playing in Siberia or Italy or Brazil. He says the guy just lives and breathes football. He goes from his bedroom to training and back again. So living in Aberdeen, he should be all right if he just stays indoors.
There's a wee bit of a John McCracken scenario. I've seen a few Dundee fans kind of not glad, but maybe not glad is the word, but maybe more of a, they can definitely have a much more improvement in goals. I think they said his distribution was a wee bit horrible, but is it something you probably would wish if the board obviously knew they were going to lose, like likes of Luke Graham, the last centre back went to Chatelain, whose name's went in my head, Congreve back to Swansea, and obviously to Yogan to Aberdeen. Do you wish it was like maybe just keep him? Because I'm not, obviously this is one game, but I did see the goalkeeping errors against Airdrie, was it, and Everton. It's like maybe like be careful what you wish for. What's your thinking in the John McCracken scenario?
I don't think we're ever going to keep him. I think his mind was made up towards the end of last season. He'd done his stint. Don't know the guy personally, but it very much kind of came across as if he thought he kind of better than he was. Now, looking at the guy's stats, he's fantastic. His shot stopping was up there with the best in the league. He pulled off some real worldies. Jay will remember that in the derby. He has the ability to go on and be a fantastic keeper, and he's already been sniffing around the Scotland setup. Bit mad from my point of view, but yeah. if I'd been able to hold on to him, I would have held on to him, but probably looked for a more solid, more experienced number one, and had him there just to continue his progression. But he's going to do that elsewhere now. Obviously, we can't go into the season with Harry Sharp being anywhere near the bench, never mind the pitch. So bringing in the boy Goodman from Crystal Palace. Haven't seen him play yet, but from what I've heard, all good stuff, and is likely to be on a par with McCracken. So yeah, we'll just wait and see.
Chris, I want to speak to you about Duran, because obviously Duran's been like exceptional, in my honest opinion. Obviously got 3 for 3. Obviously, some of the goals, I think it was against Sporting Lisbon, was a mistake. In AC Milan, it was against a mistake. But do you feel that's like I'm not going to say he's going to be better than Maeda, because obviously Maeda was just outstanding at pressing, etc. But do you not feel a wee bit more confident that as a guy that is definitely much better technically on the ball, that if he's going through and goal, you've got a better chance of scoring, or if he's going through the byline, you've got a better chance of crossing into those dangerous areas? Do you feel it can be an improvement on Maeda?
I think it can. Maeda was so frustrating in a sense that when he was on his game, he was absolutely fantastic, and his pace was just electric. But then you were always a bit iffy when he was through on goal. Like, is he going to score? He should score. You look at his overhead kick against Rangers. He scores a goal like that, but then 10 minutes later, he'll get through on goal and he'll put it wide, or he'll put it straight to the goalkeeper. So his inconsistency was so frustrating. But yeah, it makes me feel a little bit better that we've got somebody that is maybe a more natural goal scorer, and who's going to make those decisions when they get to the byline. He won't cut back. He won't try and turn 3 times, 4 times. He'll, as you said, he'll get that cross in. So yeah, I think it's a good bit of business for somebody that's gonna make those, that can naturally make those snap decisions, and potentially will be a bit more, I don't want to say a bit more fluent in front of goal, because Maeda, obviously the season before this one just gone, was banging them in, and back end of last season was scoring the goals when we needed him to score. But yeah, I think it's going to be someone that's going to be a bit more settled on the ball, and maybe not rush when the moment comes to put it in the back of the net.
So I think Tam is having phone issues, so we probably will have to speak a wee bit on the Rangers end when we're doing a wee bit of a recap. But Jay, obviously you're playing Rangers in Friday night. Yeah. What's your thoughts going into that game? Is it a game that you can maybe see Dundee United snatching something from?
Yeah, 100%. I think we could get a result from that. But again, it depends on the lineup, what Jim Goodwin plays, what Derek McInnes plays.
Have you seen any changes from the Dundee United games? Obviously, the past 4 games in the Premier Sports Cup, or say kind of reverting back to his usual, he's 5 at the back?
No, he has changed it. He's changed it to a 4. He's been playing with a 4 back, so I think he is changing it about. Hopefully, he goes in with a 4 back against Rangers.
Well, we will do a wee bit of a recap. We will be doing season predictions, and where your club's going to finish, and where do you think who's going to get relegated. So, Kwani, we'll start with you. Who do you think is going to win the Scottish Premiership this season?
I think it'll be Celtic. I think the board will eventually get themselves sorted out. Once the bigger teams in Europe do their business, you'll start to see it trickle down to Celtic, and then they'll start doing business. And I think they'll still win the league.
Where do you think Aberdeen will finish?
3rd.
Good season. I'll ask you again, sorry. Score prediction for against Hearts. Would you think the score is going to be this Saturday?
2-0 Aberdeen.
And who do you think is going to get relegated?
Relegated, St.Mirren.
I think it's going to be my choice as well. Alan, again, start with you. Who do you think is going to win the Scottish Premiership?
I hate to say it, but I think Rangers might do it, purely just because it's the first season in a good while we've got a manager in there that knows exactly what he has to do. Derek McInnes you know, he knows that he's got to win that. He's got to stop Celtic, and he's, yeah. I'd sadly think that that's going to be the case. I think he'll manage it.
And where do you think Dundee's going to finish?
As every season, as long as we stay up, that's the first priority. I'd love to see 6th, but probably 7th.
And your score prediction for Monday night against Celtic?
I'll go for a sneaky 1-1 draw.
Optimistic, got to love football in that way. And who do you think is going to get relegated?
It's a toss-up between the two Saints, and I'll pin my hat on St.Johnstone.
Well, Chris, we'll go to you as well. I think I obviously know your answer is going to be for the Scottish Premiership, but who do you think is going to win it?
I think it'll be a similar season to this season. I think if as Connie said, the board can sort themselves out, I do think we will pip it. We've made a couple of really good signings in the last couple of days, and there's still business still to be done. Just going off Alan's point there, I think Rangers have got to get this right. McGuinness has got to get this right, especially after last season, and he's now going into a club where the pressure is I think it's fair to say the pressure is more so. So I think he's got to win it, but I think Celtic will pip him at the end.
Well, obviously, you say Celtic's going to win it, so I'll go on to you for your score prediction on Monday night. Who do you think the score's going to be against Dundee?
Opening game of the season. Obviously, there's a lot of off the field issues going with Celtic at the minute in terms of the support. I'll go not simple by any means, but I'll go 2-0 Celtic. But I reckon Dundee will give us a good game.
You did say some issues off the field. Do you think it'll be a full house on Monday night?
No, which I think is very, very sad. I've never known a flag day there's not been a full house. But from what I've been seeing online and what I've been sort of seeing, I've had a quick look to see if I get tickets for it, and there was still a fair chunk of seats still on general sale. So if it's not a full house, it'll be a very, very sad occasion from that point of view. But hopefully the fans can come and get behind the team as they should be behind the team.
And who's your relegation candidate?
I'm gonna go with Connie. I would agree that St.Mirren, I'll put it on St.Mirren this season.
And Jay, we'll go to you as well. Scottish Premiership, who do you think is going to win it?
I think Rangers will win it just because McInnes knows his way around Scottish football, unlike like Russell Martin. And Danny Rowe did know his way around it. He nearly got it, but it didn't end up happening. And then bringing in Shankland and Devlin, they're two brilliant players.
And where do you think Dundee United is going to finish for you?
I'm going to be confident and go 5th and just miss out on Europe.
Listen, it's an improvement anyway. And is your relegation candidate St Mirren as well?
Yeah, St Mirren.
Should have brought the St Mirren fan on. I knew that was going to be some most people's opinions, but thank you everyone for coming on. If you have made it this far in the video, this is only part 1. Part 2 will be tomorrow, but it'll obviously included in the same video. Hit that like button, subscribe. If you are listening to this on Spotify, please follow as well. I'll see you for part 2. Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to part 2 of the Scottish Premiership opening week. Obviously, we did do part 1 yesterday. Part 2 is a bit more scramble, so I will be going through everyone's teams. Obviously, Harvey, you can see he's wearing a Hibs kit. He'll be representing Hibs. Alex is back on. He'll be representing St.Johnstone. Robbie is suited and booted. This is what's happening when it's Scottish Premiership weekend. He's going to be talking about St.Mirren. Josh has got obviously the Hearts badge. Kyle, Motherwell, and obviously Coops with the new Kilmarnock kit, which is a wee bit, I don't know, disappointing in my looks. I don't really rate the new Kilmarnock kit, but we will go on to it. Alex, I'll start off with you again because obviously to start off with you last time, St.Johnstone, you're a wee bit more upbeat. The last time we did have a wee talk, obviously did lose to Inverness, lost to East Fife in penalties. Is that optimism for the opening weekend going in against Kilmarnock a wee bit dwelling on you?
Well, we have to be. I think we have to put these the last week behind us, because we all know as Saints fans it was a really bad week, and we acknowledge that. And so it's just putting that behind us and getting back home where the players that can redeem themselves and Simo to implement a better style of football rather than walking the ball a lot. We don't want to see that. We want to really take on Kilmarnock. They are a really good team. I previously watching them like home and away, so it could go either way on Sunday. It could either. I would like us to get the 3 points. If we're playing the way we're playing right now, I would take a point right now. But I'm definitely going to take the 3 points. But it remains to be unknown.
I just want to talk about it because you did say about the slow passing. I don't want to make this sound like an excuse, but during the East Fife, I only seen the highlights. Obviously, Diabate should do much, much better. It was ball watching, but it felt like, I can't say that, believe I'm going to say this, like the grass was actually so long that the ball just moved like it was like a big massive puddle. Is that like something that's a wee bit worried to you? Maybe I'm just like bringing it up and it's not really like a problem, but it feels like the pitch isn't really the pitch that we've seen last season, which is fluid football. I don't know if it could just be Simo Valakar trying to do like a new style for the season, but it felt like the pitch isn't actually set up for Simo Valakari as of yet.
Yeah, I think the pitch needs to take time to settle in. And I did notice a slight difference between how the pitch was last season and compared to how they've put it on now. Because last time when we played on the brand new pitch against Morton at home, there was some blue patches on the grass, and so it will take time just to bed in. But once the grass is settled in and it's always been maintained, then hopefully the what Simo football, the pitch on the players will improve a bit better. So I'm optimistic in that regard. And for us Saints fans, we have to be patient on doing that, because with any club who's got a brand new pitch, they've ripped up the old and bringing in with the new, it has to settle, and obviously the weather has to factor into. So no, I'm still optimistic about that.
Coops, obviously, you will be playing St.Johnstone on opening weekend. I want to kind of talk about your Premier Sports Cup campaign, because there's a wee bit of an Ayrshire derby that has came together. Obviously, you did go through, but maybe the results weren't the way Kilmarnock usually played in the back end of last season. I think you bet Rafe in penalties, just bet Elgin, but I think you were down to 10 men, bet Aki's by going out, and then obviously lost to Peterhead in penalties. Do you feel like Neil McCann said in an interview the day that the squad, the transfer business has been phenomenal, but he wants to add one or two more? Do you think that Kilmarnock should be adding a wee bit more? Obviously, with the opening Premier Sports Cup games, you're a wee bit worried in the squad right now.
I'm not worried in the attacking side of things. We've extended Hugo's contract. We've added Ring. We've got Bailey Rice in there. We've got Mathurin on the other wing. So our attacking, and Mark O'Hara is creative in the midfield along with Kilty. So I don't have any issues with that. Defensively, I'm a bit concerned, which is a strange thing to say considering we never conceded a goal in 90 minutes in the Premier in the Sports Cup. But we're just a wee bit thin at the back. And then you get Jamie Brandon, who woke up during the Premier Sports campaign and chose violence and decided he was going to go two-footed into somebody in the midfield at East Fife. You're like, seriously? I don't know if that was just him trying too hard because he had a bit of a stop-start campaign and wanted to kind of show that he could do what he's asked to do. But yeah, we're certainly a bit thin in the back. There is I think I put it onto a kind of WhatsApp group. There's somebody we're signing from Exeter. Can't remember his name. Not an easy one for me to pronounce. 23-year-old kind of left back, plays centre back as well. But we're kind of missing that kind of toothless centre back that can header the ball further than he can kick it. Those kind of 350, 250 league games. your old kind of Craig Burley style, kind of just no nonsense defensive player. We're kind of missing that since we lost like Stuart Finlay and Wright, Big Joe Wright, and that we've not really replaced that. But we're okay as long as we don't start taking the injuries. We've got Deasy, we've got Stanger. But yeah, if anything comes in, Jamie Brandon had a stop-start. He had quite a few injuries last season. Once we start hitting that, we're looking at your Ethan Bowies, we're looking at youngsters. And that's not sustainable, especially at the back four. You can get away with that in the kind of midfield or maybe a striker coming off another striker, but in the back four, you kind of need that experience. So maybe that, but I think the next two people we're probably going to bring in, he's probably talking about defenders. There was a talk about a German guy on loan, but the rumour was that he turned up at his medical for Kilmarnock and crutches. So I don't think that medical lasted particularly long, to be honest. So that's why we're looking. It's strange that the rumour was we were looking at him on loan and we've moved from him to someone we're going to sign permanently. Again, youngster, 23, I think he is. So no, I think the bones of the squad are there. And we just need to keep going. It was a strange campaign for us. We got top. We didn't concede a goal. We only scored 2, and still managed to finish top. And then Livingston beat Forfar 8-0 and didn't even qualify for the next stage. So the Premier Sports Cup, it's a strange kind of whole. It's weird, and it was weird for me because we played up at Auchinleck. I just had a whole kind of weird pre-season feel about it. Even the squad as well. The narrow pitch doesn't really help what McCann wants to do with that kind of 4-4-2 diamond kind of width. You just didn't have that width. You didn't have the space to do it. So, we got through with the squad we've got, and we'll see with the Ayrshire Derby. Hopefully we can bang about 5 or 6 into them.
I will actually ask for your
send it back to where they need to go.
I'll actually ask for your score prediction here, Derby, just because there's no Ayr fans on, so you do have like a wee free hit. You expecting to show up and just wallop them, albeit they've had a good start as well here?
No, you'll never go in there and wallop them. We did that in the Championship up at Somerset. We were like 3-0 up in 17 minutes. That was an impressive evening. But you don't tend to, even if they're not having a great season, we're having a better one. It always tends to be relatively close. And the new manager is Naismith. He's a decent manager, so it's anyone's kind of game, as it were. The good thing is we're at home. We've finally got grass back at Rugby Park, so they'll need to be on their game and we need to be off it, I think, for them to get anything. I think if we can get the style that McCann wants to play and how he expects and the way that he wants his players to play, I don't see us losing it, but they can still get it. It's probably the right time for a team in the Championship to get a Premier League team because we're not quite in our flow yet. We've not quite got everyone in. It's probably a couple of weeks away before we get our squad sorted. So it's probably a good time. And same for Kilmarnock against Celtic. It's probably the best time for us to get Celtic, the first home game of the season, because their squad's nowhere near where they need it to be, and there's probably going to be more people leaving before folk come in for that. So probably a good time. That's probably the thing that's making it nervous for Kilmarnock fans because we just don't know. If we were on a run of 6 or 7 wins and flying at the top half of the table, then we get Ayr, then there'll be a lot more positivity around the game. I'm just happy that we're.
I think it makes. I don't want to comment for always, but like bottom 6 clubs usually it's a wee bit more nervous because you don't have like a Livingston, so you don't know who's going to be certainty to get relegated. It's like all teams are kind of similar in quality, albeit I know a lot of people, and especially in Part 1, kind of predicted St.Mirren to get relegated, so I think that goes on to you, Robbie. Obviously, when we last spoke, I think you bet Dumbarton and Cove Rangers by 4-0. Teams you probably do expect. Also had that miraculous comeback against East Kilbride, but we did see some worrying signs in that as well. Did lose to Pars, but again, you probably, should have had something awarded to you, which obviously wasn't. Is the Craig McLeish appointment starting to worry St Mirren fans now just because of the 2 so-called challenging tests? And he did pass in one barely and then failed another.
I think there's been some people that have been worried about the McLeish appointment for the minute it got announced, and it's been no different because I don't blame fans that are worried. I certainly wasn't impressed with watching the St Mirren team and any of Premier Sports Cup games. I think you can be comfortable, and I'm happy to accept that. But gone 3 goals down to East Kilbride at home, who, no disrespect to East Kilbride, but we shouldn't have been losing 3 goals at home to any of the lower league teams. Again, I don't want to dive into Dunfermline too much. I don't want to, in episode 2, claim corruption on the SFA or anything by sorts, but hiring a referee that's played with Dunfermline that to manage a game with Dunfermline is quite risky business. But look, we didn't do enough to win that game, and we didn't deserve to win that game, and the punishment's been Rangers away at Ibrox for that fact. And it's no the ideal start that McLeish would have wanted, but heading away to Falkirk, a tough team to play at any point in the season. Then we need to follow up with St Johnstone, who, Alex, I'm sure you probably would have seen as well. It seems to be us two getting picked to be the bottom two in this league this season, so it's going to be an interesting battle early doors. Some would say it's a pretty big game early on, so I can get why people are worried about McLeish. I'm happy to give him enough time to hopefully get the squad settled, but we're still a good 3 or 4 transfers after being properly sorted.
The thing I want to ask you, Robbie, right? Do you think not having Barney Stewart at Falkirk is going to make a big impact on the game?
I think it will make a big impact on Falkirk's season, to be honest with you. I do think it will make an impact on the game, but Falkirk have this history of just being able to produce players out of nowhere that can switch it on. You know, you go back to Ben Bradshaw last season, who I thought was one of the players of the season. I really like to look at that guy. So John McGlynn has a good track record of just being able to pull players from anywhere and turn them into really, really good players. So I don't expect it to be an easier game by any means. I also think our squad's get weaker, if I'm being truthfully honest. I think we have downgraded in a lot of positions, and today we lost to Mizzy Sobowale to Shamrock Rovers, so that's another player down in our squad rank. So it's going to be, I think, sort of looking at what Coop said, it's going to be too early to call these games. You know, I'm not really sure what to expect away at Falkirk because both teams are still kind of rusty. And look, it's so interesting because you look at every team that's played in the Premier Sports Cup. Namdy's really had an easy run at it. You know, Namdy's come out of it being really happy. Bar maybe Aberdeen, they've come out the only team 12 points in the Premiership, I think. So I think you're still waiting on a lot of the teams to get settled, but I definitely think Falkirk losing Barney Stewart is a big miss for them.
I actually want to talk about Falkirk. Obviously, did beat them previously by 2-1. Obviously, again, it could be like a change, different team. Falkirk obviously never qualified as well. They kind of haven't set the light as well, just like St Mirren. Do you feel it's like a game that maybe St Mirren could actually do something and capitalise, albeit it is at Falkirk?
Well, look, I'm pretty optimistic in every game. I think we can beat anybody. So my answer would be I do think we can go to Falkirk and win. But look, as much as we don't know really what Falkirk's going to be like with their new players, we've got a new manager that we don't really know what he's going to be like. He's had that interim spell where he took charge and kind of kept us up, but now he's actually had a proper summer to try and build something with the team. So we're really stepping into the land unknown in the league. I think it's going to be very telling with some of the players that we've signed. There's been a lot of debate around players like Chris Mockery, Samuel Ramos, of course, being the standout. Everybody seems to be picking him in their fantasy teams for this weekend. Obviously got a lot of high hopes on him. So I just don't really know what to expect for the game. But honestly, Jordan, I looked at the cup draw and I've seen Rangers away and I still believed we could go and win. I'm just that optimistic that I do believe on our day we can beat anybody. So it's going to be an interesting game at the weekend.
I feel it was a wee bit, shitty for St Mirren. Like, you win the Premier Sports Cup, I feel like you should be like a seeded team, in my honest opinion. But obviously that isn't the way it's came out. But I think you are going to sign, is it Paul Nisal or something for from Rangers on loan? I seen him at Raith Rovers and he was a quality type of player. It is another midfielder for St Mirren. I think some fans are a wee bit more upset about that, but I think it is going to come in with a cracking addition and maybe fill that Mark O'Hara role. But Harvey, Hibs got a massive game tomorrow against Malasheva and Kosovo. You feel pretty confident in the group chat that Hibs can turn it around, but a lot you seen by the reactions to the David Gray fans at the end of the game is a wee bit of a loud match.
Yeah.
Is there pressure on David Gray, like as of right now, even if he does go and win that game?
Well, when it comes to Hibs, we've struggled against these smaller-ish clubs in Europe. Interclub de Scaldies, we got beat 2-1 away. We go to Easter Road, we beat them 6-0. I'm confident we're going to win tonight. And if not tonight, on Thursday, but if we do win on Thursday, I think that really does give us a lot of confidence, and like it just puts the spirits up for the game against Motherwell. But with David Gray, it happens. Managers like look at the Premier. I mean, obviously there's a difference between Europe and the Premier Sports Cup. There's a massive difference, but some of the Premier Sports Cup results they were quite shocking compared to the Hibs run in Europe, obviously, but can't really compare them. But shockers happen in football, and you just need to find a way to turn it around.
I'm going to be a wee bit brutal here. I would think the word shockers a wee bit underwhelming for that. So I think it was probably up there with top 3 embarrassing nights in Scottish football. Probably up there with progress. You know, I think it was their first win in Europe, only founded 10 years ago. Obviously, we don't know if the state of their financial, they could be rich owners or sugar daddy. We do not know, right? But again, it's like, it feels just like there's nothing moving forward with Hibs. You know, I had a previous Hibs fans talked about stability, etc. But usually when stability is and happens, it's like you're content of where you are. Hibs fans, or most fans, I would say, aren't content of where they are. They want to be doing our Hearts, albeit it might be unrealistic. Is, you know, David Gray, like, he's not going to be on legend status. It's like he's not going to lose that. But are you scared if it does go to that point in January and Hibs are like 5th or 6th place and it's just going mental at the stands?
It just depends on. Well, I mean, you can't really predict games, but see, when it comes to Scottish football, it's on a rise. Most teams are starting to play better football. Motherwell proved it last season. Hearts obviously proved it, but I'm sticking with David Gray. It might change after Thursday, depending on the result, but it just depends really on what David Gray does and if there is anything changing compared to what happened last season.
I think the problem. Sorry, Jordan, I was just going to say, I think the problem you see with Hibs is you look at a Motherwell, Kyle, for example, Coops, Alex, myself, you look at our clubs and we're not really combating against anybody. Like, we're combating against each other, but no in terms of Hibs are always trying to topple Hearts, no matter what happens, no matter how much money Hearts pump into their football club. Hibs are always trying to one-up them. So the ambition, and Harvey, I'm sure you agree, the ambition for David Gray becomes a lot harder, that he needs to try and topple what Hearts done last season, and he needs to try and be above them, which I'm sure, if I was to ask you, it's not going to be an easy challenge this season.
It's never an easy challenge when you're playing Hearts. It can go anywhere in a derby. With Hibs, when it comes to derbies, I mean, it's a pretty mild record for Hibs at Tynecastle, but I think we do have a better record at Easter Road. I'm not sure on that one. I need to check that one out after, but whenever it comes to derbies, Hibs are usually the ones who take it early and then Hearts start to come on later. It just depends, but Hibs should be competing in Europe, but I feel like more needs to be done in Scottish football. The money that teams will get for Sky Sports, I think, will be a massive help for Europe this year in every single game, because you're looking at, like, for example, Hibs were playing Aston Villa a few years ago in Europe. 8-0 Aston Villa. Yes, that is absolutely devastating for me as a Hibs fan, but look at the amount of money Aston Villa are getting off of Sky Sports rights, contracts, sponsors and all that. Then you've got Scottish football is lucky if they make a quarter of what one team in the Premier League would make or what they would make abroad. It's down to the money that I think is what's making Scottish football lose coefficient spots as well as the playing of the game.
I actually want to answer your stat question. I think Hearts have actually won more at Easter Road. So, talking about Hearts, Josh, if your connection is obviously there for you, obviously, you know, Josh can't really hear anyone, so we'll go to you, Kyle, then. Kyle, obviously, Motherwell, massive game tomorrow. I think Alfred Johansson said he expects 1 or 2 more to come in before the Hibs game. Is there any position that you would particularly think is eyeing out to you that we desperately need for that game before Sunday's game?
An out and out number 9, to be honest with you. Last season, the football was so expressive, but that's all we were lacking was a number 9. The amount of strikers we went through last season, and none of them could really do it.
I thought you were going to answer more. That's my bad. Well, obviously you're going up against a Hibs side, which was the kind of previously spoke to Harvey about. It could be a wee bit potentially on the ropes. Do you think if you go through on Thursday and then play Hibs and beat them potentially at Easter Road, which in my opinion I think you will do? Do you think you're thinking to yourself this is going to be another cracking season?
It honestly it all comes down to how you start, because that's how your morale will set out, and I think our task on Sunday will probably be one of the biggest games of the season because it shows what they're going to do for the full season, and it's probably one of our harder games, to be honest, because going to Easter Road isn't an easy task. As much as I'm optimistic going into it, even though last season I think Hibs failed to beat us in the 4 visits they came to us, it honestly it all comes down to what actually happens on Sunday. I'm kind of predicting, but obviously, as what Robbie was saying, I'm always optimistic going into any tie, so it generally could go either way.
Obviously, this kind of makes your challenge a wee bit more difficult because it's the first time in probably a decade, if I'm particularly right, that Mull's going to be playing either a Thursday or then a Sunday. Obviously, do you think the Faroe Islands game tomorrow night could impact Mull badly on Sunday?
Aye, but well, no, actually, if it was any other opponent, I would probably say yeah. But the fact that Hibs are doing the exact same thing, at least they'll be the exact same. Maybe their players won't be as fit because they've just played a game a few days prior. So it's generally it's an even game on Sunday. So it generally just comes down to who is actually more sharp, depending on what results happen on the Thursday.
I also think it comes down to the lineups on the Thursdays, Kyle. If we are playing our strongest team, will we need to play a couple positions weaker on the Sunday, but it's still with the strongest team? It's just down to, honestly, I think, how we both line up on Saturday. No, the Thursday and Sunday.
Surely it's not like that at the start of the season, but you would get that if it's November, December time. But start of the season, players should be full fitness. If a manager changes his team, and let's say as example Hibs, and he goes out on Thursday night, that clearly means he doesn't know his best team, which is a wee bit of a worry going into the first game of the season, unless there is obviously injuries, etc. But we can't obviously know there. But Josh, I want to speak to you. Obviously, you say you're sorted now.
Aye.
I was going to say a disappointing campaign, but I don't know if campaign's a wee bit of a strong word for Hearts' Champions League run. You did lose 6-0 in aggregate to Sturm Graz. Again, it felt like the first 20-25 minutes of the first half in the second leg felt similar to the first half in Austria. The intensity was there, the pressing, so you could see what Franken wants to do. But it just feels like if you don't get that early goal or you miss chances and the confidence goes down, it feels like the team just stops playing entirely. Is that a massive worry to you, the drop off?
We definitely gas out 100%. We start off strong at the start of both halves in both games, but overall, I'm still happy. Even though we lost 6-0, Graz is no team to say they're no good. They're a really, really good team. They've challenged in Europe many a time before. Hearts, we've never really challenged for Europe. I mean, the 2 times we've been in the Conference League, we've completely blown out. The last time was embarrassing with that 2-2 draw to, was it Riga or something like that? And we're just not ready for it. I don't know how long it'll be before we're ready for it, but Benfica or even St. Gallis or however you say it, they're both of them are going to be hard opponents. Can't see us going through with them. Conference League playoff unseeded. Can't see us going through with that. But if we do go through, it's history. That's the way we need to see it. It will be history if we go through to Europe this season. And I'm looking forward to it. No matter what the results are, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the Aberdeen game on the weekend as well. Not going to, unfortunately, but it's going to be a great game nevertheless. Apart from that, aye.
You say obviously Hearts aren't prepared for it. Obviously they've brought in 9 signings, I think. Obviously they have lost Shankland and Cammy Devlin, which is a massive blow, and obviously Swallows went to Mainz now. Do you feel Tony Bloom gets a lot of praise? And I kind of asked this to Graham last week as well. Do you think he's kind of put the manager in a weird position that I want to use the word failed because I can't really think of a word right now, but do you think he's setting the manager up for failure right now with the players he's bringing in that isn't at the calibre level yet to do 2 games a week?
I and no. I mean, it's going to be a challenge, but at the same time, I mean, you're right, because we brought in players from League One, League Two, whatnot, for high amounts of money as well. But they're showing potential. They really are showing potential, and I think what we're doing is fine. Even though he has been just slapped these players, he hasn't really had a say. He's been put into a Champions League qualification round just like that. And to be put out like that, it's tough. But I don't think it's a reflection on what Tony Bloom is doing. I think what he's doing is right, even though it's rough. But I think we'll get there. I think we will get there.
I actually kind of looked into the Hearts side of the Tony Bloom situation and like obviously the analytics, etc. But the way it's looking right now, Brighton and Union St. Johnstone has never went through this massive rebuild, but obviously it might be a wee bit harder that, you know, Celtic and Rangers, if you do have a good season, they want to poach it right away. Brighton has never actually made max 9 signings. We're only in like July, so it's potentially to add more. Union St. Johnstone is max is only 7. Again, we're only in July. So it feels like it's still a wee bit something different towards Hearts. Is that just a wee bit of Tony Bloom kind of wants to make sure it's a go again and not a one-off like 20 years ago?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, look at the players that we've lost already. There's so many players. Even forget Shankland, Cammy Devlin and Benny and Swallow. Think about Frankie Kent and players like that. These were players that, yes, they were benched last season for majority of the season, but when they came on, they made an impact. Brilliant players who we might not ever see again at Hearts. But at the moment, I think bringing in as many players as possible is right. I mean, the amount of money Hearts are spending, I've never seen it. I mean, over the last 10 years before a couple of seasons ago, we had spent, 4 or 5 million max. And then we've spent that in 2 seasons already. So I think, it's a rebuild, a complete rebuild. But that's what we need. I think Shankland and Cammy Devlin, they're away. We just need to forget about them. We need to get more players in who are going to play for the badge. And at the same time, we can't fall in love with them because we're trying to sell them on. We're trying to sell them on, get profit, get bigger players, redevelop. It's a 10-year plan. So we want to be pushing for that title again. I can't see it happening, but I can see us still having a good season.
You said you can't fall in love with them. Trust me, I have that same thing. I was a Celtic fan. I fell in love with Dembele and Magaluf, and it ruined my night. I just couldn't get drunk, honestly. I could not get drunk. I was lovesick. But the season openers, and we'll go back to you, Alex. Obviously, you're playing Kilmarnock. What's your thoughts on the game on Sunday? Is it like, what's going to be your most positive thing going into the game, and what do you think is going to challenge St. Johnstone on Sunday? You there?
Well, sorry, could you repeat the question or to the connection?
So we're going to talk about the season opener. Obviously, we do play Kilmarnock on the Sunday. I was just asking you, what is like the most the positivity for St. Johnstone that they can bring into that game, and what do you think is going to be like the most negative and difficult thing that St. Johnstone will need to overcome in Sunday's game against Kilmarnock?
What's the most positive?
I think the signal's gone a bit tonight for everyone.
So, I'll be back. I'll rejoin you guys. Sorry.
Well, I'll go to you, Coops, then. Obviously, a game against St. Johnstone. Obviously, we did speak about briefly about the Premier Sports Cup run. What's like the positivity for Kilmarnock that can take into this game? You're thinking, okay, this is what will actually make us win this game. And what do you think? Obviously, kind of did speak about the defending side. Do you think that's something that St. Johnstone can capitalise on? Or do you think, you know what, maybe Kilmarnock can actually handle that situation a wee bit more up to full fitness?
The positivity for Kilmarnock, and it's a weird thing for a Kelly fan to say, is our front line. It's ever since when, back in the Chris Boyd era, we didn't really need to worry because he just banged in goals for fun and we were fine. The minute he left, we kind of struggled to find that player. We had players like Paul Dalglish that should have got arrested for impersonating a footballer, let alone actually signing a professional contract. So the fact that we've got Tyrese John-Jules, we've got Joe Hugill up front, then you've got Kilty, who's coming off being the player of the year. He's now the new club captain. Mathurin and Rice, I've seen them play now in the Premier Sports Cup. So are attacking, and then obviously the biggest thing I think for Kilmarnock is Aaron Tishbola coming back. Now that was a surprise. I just didn't think that was going to happen. The fact that it was taking so long. And interestingly, there was a kind of media report came out saying we're signing this German guy and potentially could get Tishbola back. And then later on that day, Tishbola was announced. So, all right, okay, thanks.
For the 15th time.
Yeah, that's the 5th time he's signed now. So, yeah, I think our defence is fine. It's the issue will be if we get injuries or suspensions because we're just a bit thin. Is it Bowie? I think I want to say Ewan Bowie. I know it's Bowie. I can't remember his first name. He looked really good, but again, he's not ready to be a regular kind of left back, right back. But when you've got Sean Larsson playing, you've got Jamie Brandon, as long as he's not too much a bomb scare, Stanger and DZ as a back four. They're fine as they are. They're working well together. DZ and Stanger were doing really well at the tail end of last season. We got onto a run in the split after the Aberdeen game. And Max Stryjek, I think he's the catalyst that holds that defence together because he's a great keeper, but he's a scary looking man. I think you get the wrong side of that guy, he's going to let you know. And when we had a run of 10 games we lost, we had a wee 20-year-old kid in there, and he was decent enough. But a 20-year-old kid trying to tell your defenders what to do, they ain't going to listen. It's just not going to happen. It's the only negativity I think that I have is I don't know much about St.Johnstone, but I don't know how. I knew of them when they played and got relegated, and I quite like Valakari, but I don't know who they are this season. I don't know what their setup is. Is it 4-4-2, 3-5-2? Is he going to play with speed? The biggest issue I think for St.Johnstone is if they try and match up against the speed of like Kilmarnock with Joe Hugill and they try and play like a higher press, they're getting caught out because the speed that we have going forward with Kilty, Hugill's just got afterburners for legs. You've got Tishbola who can hold the play up and feed them in. And I've mentioned DZ before. As much as occasionally he's prone to an error, he can find a pass. So it's going to be a tough one. The only other thing that's not really football is Kilmarnock's horrible away record. So potentially that could be a thing. If we go up in our first game of the season and we win 2 or 3-1, 2-0, whatever, and it's our first game of the season away from home, I think we can kind of park the whole away, hoodoo thing. I think we'll be fine. But this is the thing. It's the first game of the season. These first probably 4 or 5 fixtures for every team, we can all take points off everybody. It's not a day like. There was the last season the McInnes was in at Kilmarnock. We started the game off against St. Johnstone at home and get beat 3-0. And then, it wasn't a great season for us, but we weren't in relegation. We were fine. We beat Rangers. I mean, most people did when Clement was the manager, but, we put a few good opportunities against Celtic as well when McInnes was there and a few others. So, this season, I think, and as a whole, I just don't know what's going to happen. I don't think Hearts are going to get anywhere near the top as they were last season. And that's more because I think we're transitional rather than anything else for Hearts. Celtic, I don't know what your opinion is on Celtic. Obviously wasn't on the last podcast. But I actually don't know what they're doing. And I'm just got somebody that's not got any skin in the game. And I'm like, you guys have got money. You guys had a scare. I was expecting Celtic to come out and then within the first few weeks, they've got 5 players. They've spent all this money. They've got rid of the chaff, and what you bought, Oxlade-Chamberlain's broken back in. You've got a guy who's worth 11 million. But there's a lot of players that are rumoured to leave. A lot of players coming in. It pains me to say it. Rangers seem to have done the right thing. They brought their guy in quite early. They've brought in the Kinnis ball's boring as shit, and trust me, I watched it. But it gets results. But any of the other guys here, St.Mirren, St.Johnstone, Motherwell, Hibs, you come to Rugby Park, we can beat you 3-0, we'll go to Hibs and get beat 4-1. We have the unenviable record of losing 3 goals away from home in the first minute. It was 35 seconds, 51 seconds, and 14 seconds in consecutive away games. It was amazing. And then I think we scored 30 seconds into the second half, and we were like, what the that's not what we do when we played St. Mirren in that 3-0 game. And this is, I think, what I like about Scottish football. I don't watch a lot of English football or any other football. I just like Scottish football because I just think it's a really undervalued product for what we do, and the fact that, okay, we kind of have to take away the Celtic Rangers thing. The Hearts come in, gave them a scare, and I really want them to be back up there to keep giving them that scare, and it might take a couple more years. But I just like the fact that we can all beat everybody. It would be great to see. I know that Harvey does not want Hearts to be anywhere near there, but I know. I don't have the skin in that game.
That'll happen.
But Harvey, you need to go and send an email to Hibs and try and find your own version of Tony Bloom, and then it'll be 4 up there. As a Kilmarnock fan, we've got a lot to be kind of excited for. Neil McCann is a really good manager with Dodgy. He's brought in Kurt Broadfoot in defence. He's a really good coach. Been in Kilmarnock for a while. We've got the new training centre, which is a big plus for us. We've got the grass coming back to Rugby Park. My son is 16. He doesn't know what it's like to have grass at Rugby Park because we've had it for 12 years. And so, and even he hasn't actually been involved in an Ayrshire derby that's competitive and not a friendly. So there's a lot of positives for me. And I think the St.Johnstone game, if Alex is there, we'll shake our hand, we'll have a good laugh. If he's up there, I'll try and arrange to get a quick meet because I'm going up on the supporters bus as well. So I think it's going to be great. And I don't think anyone can go away overly pissed off if we lose because we'll be like, right, okay, I know where we're at. And it'll be good, if we get a draw, if we get a win, great. If we lose, as long as you don't go up there and get absolutely destroyed 4-5-0, then I'll be like, what happened? But yeah, I think it'll be exciting. I still think
I'll let you finish. I've got a question for you after.
Yeah, I still think we'll probably etch it. I think it'll probably be maybe a 2-1, 2-0. It's not going to be a complete. It's not going to be like 4-3-0 to Kelly or anything like that. It's going to be quite close. But I still think Kilmarnock, with the firepower we've got, even though the Premier Sports Cup looked like we weren't firing, but we had a lot of chances, and it was just that luck. We hit the post, and then it hit the keeper and went wide, and other times that would go in. I think one game we hit a post the bar and then the other post. That those kind of things happen, but on the other side of it, we scored 3 goals rather than hitting the post. So I don't think Kilmarnock fans are really fickle. Well, that's terrible. We should have went out there and won 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. No, that's not how that works. But I think I can see what McCann wants to do. I can see why he's brought the players in. And I think by the time we get round to next Sunday, I think it'll be a lot more competitive. But I still think Kilmarnock should just about edge it.
Harvey, before you jump in, I want to actually talk to Alex in case his connection goes. Coops obviously did say, he doesn't really know what St. Johnstone's going to bring. Do you think that could be a massive positive for St. Johnstone being down in the Championship, coming up thinking, what, no team really knows what we're going to do, which, to be fair, they probably should, but do you think that unknown can be positive for St. Johnstone?
Well, I think so. I think it's quite. I think it's actually exciting. I actually find it exciting because we don't know where our level's going to be in that Premiership. Coming from a great season last season in the Championship, I've been into the unknown against all the teams in the Premiership. So I'm like, the possibilities are endless. What we could actually achieve going forward in this Premiership season is, I think, we'll all get. I don't think it'll be the same style of football as it was last season, because last season was just like, it was like free flowing and moving the ball and that. It's going to be a mixture of a bit attacking, defensive, and controlling the game, and our defense has to be really, really good here. Because previously in the Premiership, it's backs against the walls, clearing the ball away, not scoring enough goals. That's what we need to do. Is we need to score enough goals. And being in the Premiership last time, we didn't score enough to survive. Whereas we scored a hell of a lot of goals in the Championship last season. The proof's in the pudding there. So I think forward to it.
So Harvey, you can obviously go in and ask Coops what you're going to do, unless I totally threw off your question.
Remember it. So Coops, obviously you said about teams coming to Rugby Park and yous winning, right? You think that has an impact because you now have the grass pitch? Is it now going to be more competitive games because teams were used to playing on grass and not Astro at Killie? Or do you think Killie are still going to play the same and still try win games at the home stadium now?
Oh no, Neil McCann has a style that he doesn't change. Seeing what he did when he came in January, it helped with the recruitment, obviously, because pretty much everyone he brought in contributed. I'm always of the one where, yeah, the green carpet didn't look great. It didn't look that bad when you were there. On the TV, it looked worse. And it wasn't good when that, what's his face from the VAR tried to say that was the reason why they couldn't draw the lines because of the glare of the plastic pitch. So, oh, mate, come on. Like Brendan Rodgers had excuses for it. Like, we don't need you to have excuses. I don't know. I think the plastic pitch was used more of an excuse than it was actually. I don't think it had as much an effect as the fans would led you to believe. Because, you know, when teams go there and beat us 3-4-0, which they did during the run, you know, Hearts did it 3-0. Did McInnes come out and mention the park? He did when we beat them 1-0. And you're like, mate, you managed this for 3 years with that carpet and suddenly the pitch is a problem. All right, okay, Derek, go away. So no, I don't think I had too much of an issue. I don't think it was that big a deal. I think they're still going to play the way they're going to play. And it's just going to look better. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it, but I understood why other people had issues with it.
Harvey, we'll go on to you because obviously you're playing Motherwell on Sunday. I'm not going to say you're expecting, but would you be surprised if you don't walk away with at least 3 points?
I wouldn't put it past Motherwell. They did have a very, very good couple of games at Easter Road. I think the main thing that was a problem was just inside. I'm not sure if is Side alone at Motherwell, Kyle.
No, Side's on a permanent.
I think he was the danger man, Maswinisi as well. They two were just running riots around Hibs. But I think we've got a few signings in. If they play on Thursday, they can kind of get a touch on Scottish football to see what it's like. But I think Sunday really comes down to who wants it more and who has the right tactic and the better start to the season. Or Thursday comes down to it as well.
Kyle, he did obviously speak about Maswinisi there. Will he be fit for Sunday's game or is he still out injured?
I'm sure he's travelled with the squad to the Faroe Islands. I have not got a clue if he's going to be fit tomorrow, but I'm pretty certain that he will be at least on the bench for Sunday, which is a massive flip positive for us.
There's my super fantasy then.
Obviously, this saves a massive positive. So I think I'm going to know your answer, but it feels like obviously Kizaridis at Hearts. I feel like Calvin Miller's been put out to the right where he should obviously go to the left. Do you feel like Maswinisi should be brought straight back into Miller's squad? Especially, I know he's kind of spoke about it. He did get moved to striker, so that kind of hampered them. But obviously, that drop off in like goals and assists. Do you feel like maybe just play the same team he did against the Faroe Islands in the first leg and see how they go off it on Sunday?
I don't think he would deserve to walk right back into the squad, but I think with the current squad we've got, i.e. our bench on Thursday was predominantly academy players. Like, we do need players that like have first team experience. So obviously with Maswinisi being back, it would be a massive help for us. So I wouldn't want him to walk right back into the squad, but if he was thrown right back in, I wouldn't be overly fussed about it.
How are you feeling going into Sunday's game against Hibs, albeit as at Easter Road? And I was going to make a joke that Easter Road's kind of easy for everyone, let's be honest, but I don't want the Hibs fans to unsubscribe. But how are you feeling going to Easter Road, especially for an opener? Do you think it's it could be an actual good thing for Motherwell?
It'll be exciting. That's for true. Like, obviously, as I said, like, both teams are in similar situations. Obviously Hibs are 2-0 down and we're 2-0 up in Europe. But obviously we're going to be kind of in the same sort of scenario. But I'm optimistic going into it, as the last game of last season, it was at Easter Road and we did come away with 3 points. Could that play a tale? Maybe, maybe not. Because obviously half of that team that was playing that day have all departed and gone their different ways now. But I yet again, as Robbie was saying, like, you need to be optimistic on every game, or else like you're not gonna like expect anything good.
See, you spoke about optimism there. Obviously, optimism is high, and especially if you go through tomorrow. If you do come away with a defeat, would that be a more of a sucker punch to the Motherwell squad?
What, to lose tomorrow?
Not to lose to Hibs. Like if the morale's up, everything's going well, and then to lose in the first game, do you think that can maybe bring the Motherwell players and maybe even the fan base, back down to earth, which it could be a harmful thing, especially start of the season?
I feel like that could go to the exact same start as Jens, i.e. the League Cup obviously didn't really go well. We drew 2-2 to Clyde, had to win on penalties. We scraped a 1-0 win for Stenhousemuir. Like we had to win the last minute against Peterhead. But all fans were patient with Jens, and I think it should be the exact same with Alfred. If we do lose on Sunday, if we draw, we win. I trust the system that he's playing. I honestly back him, because obviously if he was a recommendation from Jens, and obviously knowing what Jens did last season, you can only be excited to see what he's actually going to bring to the table.
Also with Hibs, we've got a much bigger job. Like Motherwell, you are obviously 2-0 up, Kyle, right? You are probably going to have to put less in the tank to go through. Not an offence to your opposition. You've got less job to do. We are 2-0 down. We need to put a lot more in the tank. We need to go out there. We need to put everything into it. I would say Motherwell need to put maybe 80%. So that also could come into effect on Sunday.
Robbie, you've kind of got off a free hit because obviously Dale couldn't make it for the Falkirk side of things. Do you think, if it is another defeat for Craig McLeish, well, I'm not going to say another, he only lost one game, but back to back, is your expectation of, oh no, this is going to be a long, hard season?
I think the problem is you look at every other team that spoke and they all have that thing of, all right, we'll see how we start and then assess it for there. I mean, you heard the main stand at Dunfermline game on Saturday. If we lose to Falkirk at the weekend, they will go ballistic for the St.Johnstone game. Oh no, I sit right front Barcelona, man. Aye, they really aren't a happy bunch, but it's like majority of the fans online. If we start off really bad in Falkirk and don't come away with at least a point, they are going to be an uproar. And they already are, by the way. There's still fans that are constantly tweeting wanting McLeish out and wanting the board to answer for it and all the rest of it. I'll never get it. I feel like I'm a bit more balanced than that. I'm going to give him time. Is it my ideal appointment? No, I said that publicly. I said I didn't want him to be the next manager, but it is what it is. You need to stick with the guy you've got, and I believe he's built a group of players that can do well. I believe he's built a group of players that can go on and win games in the league and stay up. And I don't believe us to be favourites to finish bottom, although I think pretty much everybody here and everybody online has predicted us to finish bottom. I don't see it that way. I think it will be an interesting battle between us, potentially Alex at St.Johnstone, and I think maybe Dundee, maybe two of the Dundee clubs I think will be struggling this season. So I'm more optimistic than most St.Mirren fans, but with the way some of our fan base are, I don't think that's a surprise, to be honest. So I think it is a bit of a free hit in terms of the game at the weekend, because if we do walk away with a defeat, it's not the worst thing in the world, but the pressure mounts on McLeish for the fan base and the fan base alone.
I mean, it could be worse. You could support a team that hired Stuart Kettlewell at the start of last season. I mean, that was a wonderful appointment. Still in the job. I don't know that.
At least Kyle's went through it as well. So
don't get me started. I'm not your damn.
Oh, that man's an absolute charlatan. I don't understand how that Goth managed to stay in any kind of job in Scottish football. It's unreal.
He's a great manager. What are you talking about? He plays great attacking football.
Oh, he does. He does. Aye, and you can't say hurty words to him, no, or he goes in a huff. But aye, at least we talk about that. Although to give him his due, he signed as Dackers, Dom Thompson, and Eddie Beach. Now, three of the worst players to ever play for Kilmarnock. Dom Thompson, all right, he was fine. Dacker's 6'7", jumped, he was 3'2". It's horrendous. And then Eddie Beach couldn't catch a cold if he tried. And we got money for all three of them. I don't know how he managed to figure that one out. But hey, the less we talk about the Goth era at Kilmarnock, the better.
Go
he's the only manager, by the way, to go to 3 different clubs and lose 10 like consecutive games or more. He's like the only manager ever in club football to do that. And clubs just thought, you know what, we'll appoint Stuart Kettlewell. That's what we will do. But Robbie, I want to go back to you because you said about clubs, backlashing on the Cream Cleese appointment. Obviously, as fans, we always compare, no matter the squad budget, etc. Do you think people are looking at Hearts and Motherwell, and I know St.Mirren isn't obviously that size, but do you think they're comparing, be like, why do we not just go to Europe, get a European manager, maybe try something different? You obviously are trying something different already with the youngsters coming through, the projects different, selling players on for more money, which I feel St. Mirren has been, dead for it recently, and something they had to do anyway. But do you think it's a case of scenarios that they're just comparing it to other clubs and not being realistic in themselves?
I think the problem is we've not just went for a European appointment, we've also went with an experienced appointment, and that could potentially kill us. I mean, I'm looking at the squad that he's built, and it's no experience in terms of Premiership experience. Don't get me wrong, a lot of these younger players have played well over 100 league games for their respective clubs beforehand, but in terms of being able to handle the Premiership and being able to handle if we do go out and lose our first 3 league games, what's that going to do to the players' mentality? What's that going to do to McLeish's mentality? I mean, I can see why a lot of people think he will be the first manager sacked this season, but there's also a lot of positives. I mean, look, he's a guy that's worked with a lot of the younger players in the squad. Gogic and Fraser openly admitted that they wanted him back. That's 2 of our most experienced players in the club, our captain and vice captain, who actually believe in the guy. So I'm a lot more happier than most people with the appointment, and I think game time, and I think it will be all right. Don't get me wrong, I think it's going to be a shaky start. I don't think we're going to hit the ground running. And you go back to last season, Jens Bertholascu didn't hit the ground running. It took Jens a good 5 or 6 league games to actually get going and get the squad properly playing. So it's going to take a bit of time, but if we go into that second game against St.Johnstone having no beaten Falkirk and we're maybe staggering behind for 25 minutes, then I can imagine it's going to get pretty toxic pretty early.
To counter-argument your point, but to counter-argument your point, you seen with Jens, but there was a style of play. I remember you doing it on each at St. Mirren. I think it was the second game of the season. And it was a game that Motherwell should have been scalped away and won, like potentially the 5-0 game that they did in February time. There's a wee bit of a style of play with St. Mirren, but there's no final third, attack in the throat. It's just all nice passy, which is like most football these days, sadly. It feels like I seen a comment when they were losing 2 or 3-0 at East Kilbride at half time. It was I think it was like 200, odd likes, etc. They were like never renewed their season ticket, so they've already. Is it a situation that you just can't win?
There was people after we won the cup that wanted Robinson sacked, and I'm not even kidding. There was St. Mirren fans that genuinely weren't happy with Stephen Robinson in charge at all at any point, and that just goes to show what level of fan base we're dealing with here. And I think a lot of the more mature-headed fans maybe look at McLeish and they see that problem, but I've seen that problem under Robinson. There, we just can't get the ball in the final third, and we can't get anything going in there. And I think Mikael Mandron's probably a bigger miss than we'd imagine. And I know we've signed a Sosa Sule to hopefully replace him and be that guy, but Mandron was delivering 20+ goal contributions a season. And as I'm sure Kyle will find out with the likes of Elijah Just and Hearts will find out with Shankland, you just don't replace it like that. Like it's no possible to replace that type of quality so quickly. So I think it's going to be an interesting watch this season for McLeish to see how the style of football develops. But look, at the end of the day, we're offer giving players enough time to try and develop. You've got to give a manager enough time as well. If we're going to give him the job and he's going to be our plan for the next 3 years, let the guy try and build something at the club. If we're 6 months in, bottom of the league by 12 points, then sure, you can hound him and sack him and whatever else. But the guy's barely get gone. He's not managed a full competitive game as a full Premiership competitive game as the actual manager yet. So let's just wait and see how that goes first.
Coops, you want to go in? Or
yeah, I just want to say I think the game against St. Johnstone is probably more relevant to St. Mirren than the Falkirk game, because Falkirk were up the top of the table. They're not really in the same kind of chat. But if you're talking that St. Johnstone, Dundee, Falkirk are the teams, St. Mirren, Dundee, and St. Johnstone are the bottom 3. If the St Mirren come away and they've lost 3-0 to St Johnstone the second week of the season, then, McLeish needs to just walk away, because I think he's just going to get constantly hounded. He can go at the next game and win 3-0 or draw against Celtic, but your fans are going to go back and go, yeah, but you lost 2-0 to St Johnstone. That's ridiculous. I just don't, for someone that has no skin in the game in regards to St Mirren, and I went up to the first time to St Mirren and watched Kelly beat his 3-0. I didn't. What were you trying to do? I just couldn't figure out a plan. And then he came out afterwards and apologised to the people he subbed. And one of the people he brought on was his club captain, who weirdly is now playing for Kilmarnock. It was very weird, the whole vibe, the whole way he talked. And the one thing that I compare like Stuart O'Kettlewell to Neil McCann. Now, we weren't happy as a fan base when McCann got brought in, and looking back on it, I think the biggest problem was it took us nearly 4 weeks to actually bring him in. A guy who was on BBC Scotland and doesn't have a job. We had Chris Doolan for a few games and we didn't do very well. If they'd hired him 3 days after they sacked him, or on the same conversation as saying Stuart Kettlewell's gone, Neil McCann, Billy Dodd's into the end of the season, and then potentially he'll stay longer, we wouldn't have a problem. It took longer. But the thing about Neil McCann that we all liked was he had this confidence about him. He's got this aura. There's a presence. Now, I don't care about his history with Rangers. I'm not interested. I don't care about any of that stuff. That's for Celtic and Rangers fans to argue amongst themselves. It's the same with Hearts and Hibs. You argue amongst that. I don't care. But when he came in, you believed him. You just wanted to believe him. You're scared shitless of the wee man because he's an angry wee man at times. I've watched him on the sidelines. But for me, when you get into that nitty-gritty of the bottom half of the table and you get in, maybe, I'm not saying that St Johnstone definitely will be at the bottom, but just for argument's sake, it's St Johnstone and you guys are bottom two and you are fighting to get out of that bottom relegation spot. I don't see McLeish hyping up his squad to kind of go, right, first thing Neil McCann came in and said was, there's no points, like, forget the league. We start at zero from today. This is what we're doing. This is what we believe in. And they believed in it. Look at how we done. We almost managed to beat Aberdeen to 9th, I think, by a goal. So I just don't see what McLeish, he's a good coach. Is he a manager yet? I think St Mirren potentially could have ruined someone's career before it's had a chance to kind of develop and get his connections and build himself up. I think he needs an assistant who's a really, really good, like a Tony Dock, someone who's been a manager, someone who can come in and help him and take that bit of experience, but let him learn it. I'm just a bit worried. I don't want to see the guy get lambasted, but as a Kelly fan, we've done it to managers. But that's my side of it. I'm a bit concerned that he's been given something. It's an opportunity that not many people would say no to, but I think it's too soon. I think it's probably 3 or 4 years further down the line for him.
I remember watching the 3-0 game where you came to Paisley and just played us off the bat. I mean, we didn't lay a glove on Kilmarnock that day, for what I remember.
Oh, it was so good.
I know. I remember after the game, I'm pretty sure I actually phoned in Super Scoreboard after the game. I was that raging, but I was listening to McLeish's press conference, and the guy looked like he was about to start greeting. Like, genuinely, that's the way he sounded. He was like he's about to start having a breakdown because he just can't handle the media. And I still don't think he's up to that. I still think any bit of pressure's really going to leap onto the guy. But you're right. He's never going to say no to that job, and I don't blame him for taking it. I blame the board more for giving him it, and don't get me wrong, I'm more than willing to give him a bit of time, but it's not the right appointment in my opinion, and I think if we are to be bottom of the league by the end of the season, it does need time. 100%, he's got to have some time, but let's just say in 6 months he is sitting 12 points behind 11th, then he's not going to get much longer, and I think it comes back to that bit of ambition that Jordan, you were talking about there. Go and look for that appointment. I said the minute the season finished and the second the Partick Thistle game ended and we were confirmed safe, I wanted us on the phone to Neil Lennon straight away, trying to get anything we could to convince Neil Lennon to join the club, because I thought that bit of experience, that bit of knowledge, like McCann at Kilmarnock, I don't think McCann's particularly got the highest CV, but he knows the game, and I'm not saying McLeish does it, but in terms of he knows that Premiership game, he knows how to get the players motivated. he knows how to get that fire in their stomach. Does McLeish know how to do that? I don't know, but all I can say is Alex Gogic and Marcus Fraser, the club captain and vice captain, certainly believe in him. And if that's two of our most experienced guys in the squad and they believe in him, then the fans should as well.
I don't
Josh,
think
I
that...
actually... I like what Josh for just 2 seconds because we're on the managerial front. There's been a lot of Hearts fans and me as well did a TikTok questioning about his substitutions. Also, you've got a really hard game on the Saturday night. You know, that away record for any team against Hearts and Aberdeen's abysmal. Is it something that obviously is a wee bit emotional? I made a video and Hearts fans are saying he's got to go. I don't believe they actually mean that. It's obviously an emotional game, but with the history in that tie, and it's not really favoured to the away team, if he goes 3 defeats back to back, and the substitutions in the team lineup's a wee bit questionable, especially if he starts McEntee Spittle in that midfield again. Questions getting asked?
Yeah, 100%. If I don't see Tom Renaud on the pitch, I'm going to go off my nut because he's a brilliant player. He deserves to be on that pitch. I was surprised to see Spittle on. If we don't come out with a result, even a point against Aberdeen, questions will be asked, but still we need to give him time. We can't turn our backs that easy. But if it is due to the lineup, if he's making substitutions and we're starting to see better play, this is stuff that he should be seeing already in our squad. He shouldn't be kind of guessing. I think we could have had a couple of more pre-season friendlies, but I think we've had enough games. I think we've had enough games to figure out what team we should play on Saturday, what team we should play against Benfica or St. Gilas. It's weird. It is weird. I think we do have the team to beat Aberdeen this weekend. It's been 10 years since we beat Aberdeen at Pittodrie, but that means we can do it. Never say never. 3 points is there. Aberdeen have kind of done the same as us. They've brought in quite a lot of players too, and I will expect to see a couple of them on the pitch as well. So it is kind of 2 new squads kind of battling out. So it will be different compared to recent years, but questions will be asked if we do come out with a loss, especially if it's a bad loss like we've just had the last 2 games in a row there.
What is your expectations as a Hearts fan? Because obviously back in 2005 when you did split the Old Firm, it was a wee bit more like we're not going to go again. He did lose like Paul Hartley, I think, in January to Celtic. But it feels like it's a different tune. It feels like, what, we are going to go again because of Tony Bloom, etc. Yeah. Would a 3rd place finish, no cups, maybe 2 Hampton trips and go out of Europe straight away? Would questions still be asked? Would fans be like, that's it, we've given them time and that's it?
No. If we get 3rd place, I predict in between 60 and 70 points this season. And if any Hearts fans say that that's a bad season compared to what we had last season, then again, they're off their nut because we can't expect to go at it every single season. It's a 10-year plan. We're bringing in players, we're going to sell them, we're going to bring in better players, we'll sell them, we're going to bring in better players. If it doesn't happen, then questions will be asked. But going back to trophies, we need to see Hearts win a trophy. I mean, it's been too long now. It's been too long. So even if we don't. Get 4th,
we don't need to see that.
We do.
It's been years now. Why can they just keep on going?
I mean, Hibs have even won a domestic trophy more recent than us. We can't have that happen. No, we can't. But if we can come out even 4th or 5th with a League Cup, I'll take that over anything right now. Genuinely. A League Cup or a Scottish Cup, 4th or 5th place, I'll take it. Minimum 3rd place if we crash out of both cups like we did last season, which is something we definitely need to work on, then we need to get 3rd place. Because as I said, I don't think we're going to get Europe. If we crash out of both cups, then we've just got the league to worry about. If we don't get 3rd place, then 100% questions should be asked.
I spoke to a Rangers fan yesterday, and obviously I'm a Celtic fan, so I'll kind of speak in the Celtic side of things. Rangers fans don't actually believe their squad's up, capable enough again. They haven't upgraded as of yet in the time of recording. They say that they're final third, the wingers especially, are dreadful. Sometimes they're making mistakes at the back as well. Celtic, I feel Celtic fans have always say that their squad isn't, been upgraded to the full potential for full on years, and obviously Celtic's kind of dominated Scotland for a good 20 years, let's be honest. So I guess like you say, there's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's a time not now for Hearts to still be in their throats rather than do a wee setback, because it feels like if there is a setback, and especially with the coefficient being the way it is right now, you're not even guaranteed you're about finishing third. Do you think it's like a potential miss where this is why Hearts fans, well, some are expecting we need to, it's not a hopeful, it is a need?
No, I do understand that, and understand why some Hearts fans will say, we need to split the old firm or win the title this year, because no one wants to downgrade, but at the same time, a process is there for a reason. We can't just justify having one good season and then one bad season and expecting to be not even a bad season. Let's say we come third. We can't expect, okay, that's it, back to normal now. I think we can work on that. We can build on that. We can see what players are fit, are good, are worth selling, or worth not selling. It's all about making profit so we can get these better players in. Build a squad, build everything. We do need, I think we're sorted on a team, but I think staff members is critical when it comes to this. We've lost a few staff members recently, and I think set pieces. We brought in a set piece coach, didn't we? I can't remember his name, but I'm sure we brought in a set piece coach, and that's something that we definitely needed, 100%. I can't remember his name, but I think we're okay right now.
Well, to recap us off, we'll do the score predictions for the first game of the season, and then I'll ask where you think your club's going to finish in the league. So we'll go to you, Kel, because obviously Harvey's done a wee gone there now. What's your score predictions for Sunday's game against Hibs?
I will. This is in no offence to you, Harvey, but this is a scoreline you might find a bit familiar now. But I'm going to go with a 2-0 victory for us.
By the way, every person who said a 2-0 victory, their teams went on and lost, so that's a wee bit of an omen there, Kyle. Harvey, we'll let you respond, because obviously you are playing Motherwell on a Sunday. What's your score prediction?
2-1 Hibs.
We'll go to you, Robbie.
3-1 St.Mirren.
Wow,
optimism.
On a team that doesn't have a striker. Nice.
Coops, you're the one that's been praising and raving your strikers. What's the scoreline going to be in Sunday up at St.Johnstone?
Okay, to stay away from the 2-0 hoodoo, we'll go 2-1 Kilmarnock.
Josh, what's your score prediction for that bad travel up at Pittodrie?
If I see Finlay, Bassai and Tom Renaud on, then 3-0 Hearts.
Hoping I see them then. No, not. I'm hoping I see the opposition absolutely pump you as well.
No, that's not going to happen though.
It will.
We've got it sorted. Aberdeen isn't Graz.
Well, that could get potentially clipped up for the next week's episode if Hearts get pumped. Alex, we'll go to you. What's your score prediction for the game on Sunday against Kilmarnock? If your connection wants to survive.
Yeah, if it's playing up, yeah. Sorry, guys. As from what I've been seeing recently, for the past 2 games, we turn it around. I'll take a 2-1 win. So at this rate, if we're playing this way, I'll take a 1-0 draw. It's just I think rather be safe rather than not safe, but it's a tricky one.
Well, we got your score prediction, the most important thing through there. So we will go through your clubs one last time. Harvey's done a goner again. Kyle, we'll go to you. Where do you think Motherwell's going to finish at the end of the season?
I think I said in the first podcast I was on, I said we might drop one place and say 5th, so I will stick to that and I'll say 5th place.
Harvey, where do you think Hibs is going to finish?
4th.
That's the maths up there. He said 4 for he's put 10 fingers up. That's Edinburgh teaching for you. Robbie, obviously everyone's predicting St Mirren to get relegated. What do you think St Mirren's going to finish?
I'm too optimistic for that, Jordan. You know me by now. I think there's going to be a few teams falling into the bottom 6. I'm going 6th for St Mirren, top 6 again.
Coops, what do you think Kilmarnock's going?
I really want to get a can of the Hopium that Robbie's been drinking because that's impressive.
It's called drugs, Coops. It's called drugs.
It's in it. You can get a decent menu from Paisley. I'm probably going to go with. I think a lot of the BBC pundits have said we can push for top 6. I'm going to say we're going to be a bit like Dundee United last season and sit somewhere in the middle, not really in the top 6, not really at the bottom. So I'm going to say probably 7th. And for me, that's great. And we're going to win the Scottish Cup because it's our anniversary since we won it in '97 this season. So it's in the stars. It's in the stars.
Josh, where do you think Hearts is going to finish?
3rd place in a League Cup. We'll give the Scottish Cup to Kelly.
I actually don't think Hearts has won a League Cup since the 60s, so that's a bold prediction.
That's what I mean. It's important. It is important to us.
Kilmarnock have won the league more recent than Hearts, so just putting that out there.
Alex, I will go to you if your connection again is going to survive with this. I don't really know if that's a frozen face or just a dull one. Johnson's going to finish at the end of the season. Is he gone? You there? Have you said it? Have we just actually just frozen?
Still here.
Yeah, where do you think St.Johnstone's going to finish at the end of the
Yeah,
season?
still here. Yeah, still.
Oh, he's got a delay.
Alex, what you do is type it in the chat and I'll read it out, okay? And then I will actually ask you one thing because Robbie's here. Who do you think is going to get relegated? Harvey, we'll go to you because you're actually here.
I'm thinking Kelly.
Wow, that's a bold one.
First,
Kyle, we'll go to you.
So.
See, I was between 2, either Dundee or St Johnstone, but I feel like folk underappreciate Stephen Presley, so I'll say St Johnstone.
Robbie, who do you think is going to get relegated?
Dundee United.
Wow.
Quite good because I can't stick Jim Goodwin. I think he's
horrible. Oh, I know. Get him away.
I can't stick him.
I'm
going to go with St Johnstone.
And Josh, what do you think is going to get relegated?
Hibs. No, I think it'll be Dundee. I think it'll be Dundee who get relegated this year.
To the Saints fans watching, well, the St Johnstone fans, Alex did think St Johnstone will get predicted 6. And that was not the way I thought that question was going to go. Everyone in part 1 said St Mirren, and it was a right laugh, and then everyone's just gone off the St Mirren trail. That's disappointing. But thank you so much for coming on. To the listeners, if you're still watching this, hit that like button and subscribe. It's massively appreciated. And if you are listening to Spotify, give us a follow. There'll be a new weekly episode out every Thursday at 6 p.m. But for now, we'll catch you in the next one.